Hello everyone, this is Dr. E and today we're going to talk about operations involving rational expressions, how we teach them and how to introduce to our students the beauty and the challenges of working with rational expressions. So, one of the topics in algebra that my students are being challenged on or basically factoring or simplifying, adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing rational expressions. And for today, I'm going to share with you how I teach my students to overcome their anxiety or math anxiety, especially when they see fractions, because most math students, they are a little bit intimidated every time they see math problems involving fractions. And when you add algebra in the mix, it becomes a little bit more challenging to most of our students, and that is what we're going to be talking about on today's Math Talks with Dr. E. So this is how I share my lessons or how I begin my lessons on rational expressions to teach my students how to use several factoring techniques involved in the lesson of rational expressions. And for the first topic that I always show or share my students is prime factorizations. As basic as it may seem, we always need to find the connection of our students' prior knowledge or their math fundamentals to be able to introduce to them some complex and some math problems that's new to their eyes. So after engaging them to some problems involving prime factorization, I will then move to my lesson on fractions to review them on the operations involving fractions and at the same time to get rid of their anxiety when it comes to answering problems involving fractions. And I always start my operations with simplifying fractions and then multiplication and division of fractions. And I always teach addition and subtraction of rational expressions or fractions at the very end because we know that it's a lot easier for our students to work with operations involving multiplication and division compared to addition and subtraction. And in mathematics, it's all about techniques and strategy. So, whatever that would help our students be less scared of mathematics, we need to introduce or share it with them. And of course, after answering problems involving fractions, I then give them lessons on factoring or review on factoring. So some of the factoring techniques that they have learned from the previous chapters, factoring using GCF, factoring quadratic equations, factoring using the sum and difference of two cubes, and so on. So once our students are comfortable dealing with separate problems like what I have shown you, we can then move on to our actual lesson on rational expressions, and I will be certain, or I am certain, that our students will be ready when it comes to tackling problems involving this. So now we have x squared minus 4 all over x plus 2 that we're going to be working on as an example. So once we have introduced prime factorization and factoring or operations involving fractions, we can then show them how we put them all together to simplify x squared minus 4 all over x plus 2. So by giving them an example of a basic math problems or numerical values such as 14 all over 2 and showing them how we use factoring to simplify 14 over 2. We know that we can simplify 14 over 2 by prime factorization of 14, which is 2 times 7 all over 2. And by doing so, we'll be able to show them that by this technique, we're able to simplify 14 over 2 into 7 using prime factorization and simplifying a fraction, which will we show on this particular problem, x squared minus 4 all over x plus 2. We're going to be factoring x squared minus 4 into x plus 2 times x minus 2, not x plus 2, but x minus 2. So this will be the factored form of x squared minus 4 all over x plus 2. And by doing so, we'll be able to show them that by canceling x plus 2 and x plus 2, x squared minus 4 all over x plus 2 is equal to x minus 2 if we simplify our rational expressions correctly. And that is how we use prior knowledge and make sure that our students are understanding the math fundamentals involved in answering algebra problems such as the topic that we have just discussed right now. And this is what I always share, or how I teach my students rational expressions. First, prime factorization, which is pretty simple yet important if they want to understand why factoring is needed in some of the operations in rational expression. And of course, the fraction operations. And after that would be the factoring techniques that we have learned in algebra, so that they will be ready in tackling problems involving rational expressions, from simplifying them all the way to adding and subtracting rational expressions. And if you have any lessons idea that you want to share, comment down below. And for those students who are looking for some videos that I have for this particular topic, it's in the comment or description box down below. So check those videos so you will have enough lessons that you can use to practice on simplifying, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing rational expressions. And that is how I teach my students rational expressions, or operations involving rational expressions, which is one of the most important skill that our students need to master so that they will be comfortable in dealing with problems in calculus or pre-calculus or in geometry. This is Dr. Esperanza, and see you again next time. Bye!